We had some elections yesterday on the West Coast, and there's some really interesting results. So on the Republican side, Ted Cruz absolutely dominated Utah. Now, a lot of people were expecting this. If you looked at the polling data going into Utah, that was exactly how it was supposed to turn out. And the reason why that is Utah is super religious. They're incredibly Mormon, and they kind of see through Donald Trump's facade with religion, how he's kind of pretending to be religious, and 2 Corinthians over here, you know what I'm saying? Like he said at Liberty University. So they wanted somebody who's a true Kool-Aid drinker and religious maniac, so they went with Ted Cruz. Now, yet again, I think this kind of feeds my theory on Ted Cruz that he can only appeal in places like Utah and in places like Iowa, and really he has no chance, certainly, to hit the delegate number on his own. But also, you know, there's a decent chance that Donald Trump would hit the delegate number, even with Ted Cruz picking off states here and there. So Cruz winning Utah is not incredibly surprising. And actually, John Kasich got second in Utah. Trump came last in Utah, which is quite telling about the demographic makeup of that state and the political ideology of that state. And then we moved to Arizona here, and Trump dominated there. So he had 47.1% of the vote to Cruz, who had 24.8%. So just a crushing victory there. Now, the delegates in both states are winner-take-all. So Trump net picked up delegates. I think it was a net pickup of about 18 delegates or so. So even though you had 2 states and Ted Cruz winning one of them, Trump picked up delegates, and yet again, the race on the Republican side is the Donald Trump show. So he marches towards victory here. Now, on the Democratic side, oh boy. Oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. Bernie Sanders dominated Utah. You ready for this? As of right now, not everything is done being counted yet, but as of right now, he has about 80% of the vote. He crushed it in Utah. In Idaho, he got 78%. Another crushing victory for Bernie Sanders there. And we also had record turnouts for these respective elections. And you got to understand, guys, he needs this. So it's not like, oh, hey, the opposite happened. Well, we live to fight another day. No, you don't. So it's kind of do or die for Bernie. You know, I was saying he's got to win with about 58% of the delegates moving forward, and that was before yesterday. Now, it might even be more now because he lost Arizona. And the numbers in Arizona, again, as I speak to you now, it's 57.8% for Hillary Clinton and 39.8% for Bernie. Now, that may close more, but he did lose Arizona, and Arizona has more delegates than Idaho and Utah combined. So at the end of the day, when you look at the delegate count, it might be the case that Bernie's victory in Utah and Idaho was so large that the delegate count will be about even. But he needs more than that. He does. He needs to start winning and winning in crushing victories pretty much everywhere. So for him to basically split the delegates last night is really not good enough. And don't get me wrong, so am I saying today he has to drop out because he lost Arizona? No, because then there are more states moving forward. Again, they favor him on the map. So it just means that he needs to win those states even more convincingly now than he did the day before yesterday. But I'm here to be honest with you guys, and I'm here to be realistic with you guys, and I'm here to say losing Arizona is not okay. Now, furthermore, man, was there some fuckery going on in Arizona. I mean, oftentimes I get tweets nonstop whenever there's an election with people claiming voter fraud or some tricky nonsense going on behind the scenes in a given place. And sometimes we end up covering the stories. For example, when Bill Clinton was crashing polling places in Massachusetts and holding it up, and people were leaving, they were waiting online and they were leaving, and that was kind of the point of him crashing it. So I cover it when I'm absolutely positively convinced that there was legit fuckery going on, and I know that it's not just allegations, and it's not just what happens basically every election, where there's always somebody saying, something's wrong here. But not only was Massachusetts an example where the fuckery was real, and we know it's real, and it was widely reported, no, last night you can say the same thing. There was some serious fuckery going on. For example, there were some reports that polling stations, compared to the last election, were drastically cut. So when you do that, what are they attempting to do? Well, you're attempting to basically lower the voter turnout, because when you cut the number of polling stations, the lines get longer, and when the lines get longer, a lot of people are not going to wait on that line. So you lower the vote count, which ends up helping, say it with me, Hillary Clinton on the Democratic side. Obviously, Bernie needs a bigger turnout because that means more millennials voted, and millennials are overwhelmingly in favor of Bernie Sanders. The lines were so long that some people didn't have water and they needed water. And they ended up leaving the line to get water because they needed water to drink to, what's it called again? Survive. In some places, they ordered pizza. They were on the line for so long they were hungry, they ordered pizza to the line. There were waits that were up to 3 hours, sometimes longer. There was one place where the line to get into the polling station was a mile long. And you ready for this? They called the election in Arizona when people were still online and they hadn't voted yet. Even Nate Silver, who's a very, traditional kind of guy, he was saying on his live blog, well, one wonders about the ethics of calling an election while people are waiting online. They haven't even voted yet. Now, I get it. Don't get me wrong, man. I'm the first to say, hey, this is how statistics works. There's statisticians who are experts at this. So, it is possible to call an election with 5% of the vote in and say, well, look, the trends are X. There's such a gigantic lead already that, and the demographic makeup of the districts moving forward favors the person who's in the lead. So yeah, we call the election with very few votes in. But to call the election while people still haven't even voted yet. No, that's like Soviet Union-like shit. What are you doing? What are you doing? So there was some weird shit going on. There was some fuckery going on. Now, here's the part where, unfortunately, I burst many people's bubbles. Would that have been enough? Like, is it enough that, hey, if there was no fuckery, Bernie Sanders would have won? No, I can't say that because I don't know that, and because as of right now, Hillary's lead is, strong enough where I don't know how much of an effect that other stuff had. Would it have swung the election another 2 percentage points? That's a lot to swing it 2 percentage points in the direction of Bernie. Well, if that's the case, then he still loses as of right now by about 5 points. So I don't know if it would have been enough to swing it towards Bernie, but I do know there was fuckery that went on, and that's not just some sort of weird speculation and, oh my God, it's Bernie's brigade crying because they lost. No. It's based on the evidence. It's based on the data. It's based on the fact that, like I said, even respected traditional, outlets like Nate Silver 538, he was like, I don't know about that. The ethics of that seems super off to call an election when people are still waiting to vote. So do with that what you may, but that's the election breakdown. Now, again, moving forward, we're looking at Donald Trump 85% to win. Whether or not he hits the delegate number is really the question. It's almost a guarantee he's going to have, a plurality of the votes, or a plurality of the delegates too. So he's going to be leading. He's going to be number one in vote count, but will he have enough to hit the delegate number? Now, on the Democratic side, there's kind of the same question going on with Hillary Clinton. So Bernie Sanders basically split the delegates last night. That's not enough. He needs to make up, and he needs to start making up right now. But again, a lot of traditional outlets, Nate Silver said this as well with Hillary Clinton, it's looking like she might not even hit the required delegate number. So this is a weird race, and in many ways, it's a historic race for a variety of reasons. But again, what we have going forward is Donald Trump a heavy favorite, Hillary Clinton a favorite, and Bernie Sanders needs to start making up ground. If anybody's going to catch Trump, they need to start making up ground more than they did. Cruz just winning Iowa is not enough. So we'll see what happens, but there you have it. I feel like Bernie he keeps just barely hanging on. Remember that song, Kim Wilde? Keep me hanging on. My voice, I know, is that of an angel. That's what I think of when I look at the election results from last night and I see what Bernie's doing.